Hey there, Vince Dowd, the founder of Authentic Elevation, where we help people elevate their frequency, their consciousness, and become the truly authentic being that they were meant to be. If I asked you this question, who are you? What's your identity? And it's really interesting because a lot of times people do not think of what this even means. So when I say that, what I want you to understand is we in life have learned to identify typically with our body, right? So a body is your biogenetic suit. And from the time you were born, you've been told that this is who you are. And we could look at all the programs around it, but most people struggle in life simply because they do not know who they are. They identify themselves with their body, with their mind, and within that mind is we call the ego. Actually, the ego and mind are pretty much co-connected. And within that mind, you have beliefs, which you identify with. You have stories, concepts, and ideas. You have all the things that you can imagine within this scope of identification. So if somebody asks you where you're going, you really believe that you're going somewhere because you're identifying yourself with the body, and the body has to move in the time-space continuum. So as long as you identify as the body or the mind within the body, then what happens is you feel separateness. And the whole world is very different. Then we start to back that identity up to realize we can pull it out and get a different perspective of who we really are. So this is a little bit of a complex topic, but let me give you the idea of this. Who are you is the ultimate question. In fact, Ramana Maharshi, one of the great yogis of India who passed away, but very profound teachings, he spent most of his life in silence, sitting in a cave in India, and dignitaries and wealthy and high political figures would come from around the world just to sit with him. And it was said that when you sat with Ramana, you would actually drop into the state of bliss. Even the animals would connect with Ramana because he was operating out of a very different way of life. He actually moved his ego out of the way, and the source of all life was flowing through him. So basically, he learned to identify as who he truly was, which is source energy, not as the body, the biogenetic suit called Ramana, right? So at 16, he had this awakening experience. You might want to Google him. It's amazing, Ramana Maharshi. But if you consider yourself the self, there is the small self, which is usually who we consider we are, and that is the ego self. And then there's the capital S self, which is our true nature. Now, let me give you the good example of this. You know, we think we're busy, we're going everywhere, we're doing all these things. And Ramana made it pretty clear to his disciples, the people that came to learn from him, that they're so busy, caught up in believing that they're actually going somewhere, but they've never gone anywhere. They've never really done anything because there is no doing, there is no going, and there is no having. In the real, all these things don't exist. These are all illusions because we identify ourselves with the body-mind complex. So it's almost like if you think of space, like all the space around, between the bookshelves, between me, between anything, there's space, right? The space itself would represent our true identity. So if we're the space, that goes on for infinite. That's an infinite idea that our mind, which is finite, can't even comprehend. And that's the hardest thing, is human beings have a very hard time comprehending in the mind the infinite. So they create all these rules, all these dogmas, all these fear-based religions to try to put into words, which are very, very finite, the infinite. And in doing so, you lose the entire value, the entire meaning, the entire truth of what is real. So I would never attempt to tell people something is true anymore. And if I do, that is wrong, okay? Because at the end of the day, I used to tell people what was true based on my belief system in whatever religion. Now I know, I don't know what's true. But what I do know is when I sit with myself in deep meditation, that I know presence. I know that I am not who I think I am. I could never tell you who I am. And I don't believe that you'll be able to ever tell me who you are. But if you sit with yourself and I try to do 2 hours a day of meditation, sometimes more, sometimes less. But if you sit with yourself and observe yourself, watching your thoughts, and every thought that rises will be a thought that's trying to distract you from finding the true you. And it might be a thought, I am hungry, I am tired, I don't want to sit here anymore. I don't feel like this is doing anything. All those thoughts will come up. The problem is we believe our thoughts. And what Ramana teaches us to do through the self-inquiry process is to question the thought, to meditate on the meditator. So if you ask the question, who am I? Now we're searching for identity, right? We're not accepting that we are the body. We're asking ourselves, who am I? So this thought that comes up that says, I am hungry. What if we question the thought and we ask the question of who is hungry? And now if you sit there in silence with that, who is the one that's hungry? You'll start to come up with more answers, right? Well, I'm hungry. Okay, great. So I'm hungry, but who am I? Who is the I? Is it my body? And see, we don't know who the I is. So you can't just say, well, I am I. So one way to do it, and this is the way I started, is I started to ask who I'm not. So I'd say, okay, am I the body? Am I the body? Now the body is hungry. Okay, that makes sense because the body needs energy to survive. It's an animal biogenetic suit. It needs nutrients, but I'm not the body. So I just asked myself, well, am I the body? I'm not the body. How would I know that? Because where am I in the body? And what part of the body am I? Am I the whole body? What happens if I get an arm cut off? Am I still me? Right? If I have a heart transplant, am I still me? You are still you no matter what happens. And that is the power. So where are you and who are you? So then the next thing that happened for me is I was meditating and my mind said, you really shouldn't be sitting here. You got things to do. You got to pay the bills. You got to do this and that. And then I asked, who should not be sitting here and who needs to pay the bills? And again, I need to pay the bills. Well, who is this I again? And every time I started to inquire, to dig deeper, instead of following a thought, like a chain reaction, one thought breeds another thought, and it explodes out into this infinite chain, this infinite loop of thinking that goes on forever. Instead of doing that, I wanted to retract those thoughts back into my mind, back to the source to figure out where are these coming from? What is the source of these thoughts? Because that would be the I. The I is the original thought. So the way Ramana put it is the I am is the original thought, the original ignorance. So if you think every human being, regardless of their race, their color, their religion, their socioeconomic background, their age, their gender, their political affiliation, does not matter around this planet, every single human being starts every day with a thinking process called I am. And from there stems all of the world that's been created. All manifestation comes from the I am. Now, even in the Bible, it says, be still and know that I am God. So the question becomes, who is this I am? It's in every human being. Every human being says, I am hungry, I am thirsty, I am rich, I am poor, I am fat, I am whatever it is. It all starts from this original ignorance, the original thought I am. So when we inquire, and I encourage you to do this by sitting with yourself, however long it takes every day, and start to inquire on these thoughts that come up until it becomes a practice you can do with your eyes open, until every thought that comes up, you're questioning it like a crime scene investigator searching for evidence to find out, who is this witness? Who is this source that keeps telling me these things? And you'll drill down and you'll drill down. You're going to find the I am by itself is known as pure and simple being. If you had no other thoughts attached to I am, no other thoughts, just I am, and there was no I am fat or I'm tired or I'm hungry or I'm sick, I'm whatever, what happens is you have this peace that comes over you, a stillness and a silence that is all encapturing. It's who you are. It's your essence. But the I am is also known as the ego. By itself, it says I am. But when you start to attach things to it, you create all the attachments, all the manifestation, and all the problems. Even the I am itself is not true. So if you go deeper with it, let's look at this as the I am is God. Remember in the Bible, so again, it says, be still. So what's that mean? Stop moving, stop thinking. Now, you can't stop thinking, it's impossible. But what you can do is inquire on each thought. So sit still, don't move your body, sit still and inquire every thought, who's thinking that? And if you can't figure out who the I am is, start asking who you're not. Am I the thought? Am I really a Republican or am I a Democrat? Am I gay or am I straight? If you ask the question, the answer is no, you're not any of those, because anything that can change is not you. The real never changes. You might have been a Christian growing up like I was, and then you became spiritual. Maybe you became atheist. Maybe your atheist became a Christian. Whatever you are, you've changed, which means that's not you. It's just the mind moving through you with different perspective and information. So as you go inside yourself, the I am, be still and know. It doesn't say believe, it says be still and know. Knowing is very different than beliefs. Beliefs, again, change. My beliefs have changed throughout my whole life. But knowing means I know. There's no question, no doubt. I've experienced it. It's a fact to me. I can't say it's a fact to you, only to me. Be still, in silence, quiet, and know that I am. Who is the I am? Well, all of us have that I am inside of us. So if you think of God being in everybody, the I am is in everybody. Everybody starts their day after they awake with I am. Their entire thinking starts from there. If you got rid of the I am, there would be nothing. If you right now, looking at me, anything in your life that is being, that is happening, that is, whatever it is, it could not happen without you first being. If you disappear, it's all gone. That I am in the body is God. And the same God's in you that's in me. The same God's in every being, every sentient being, because the I am is the energy that creates the manifestation force of the entire universe, creating out of the unseen, the seen, out of the unmanifest, the manifest. In yoga, they call it the Brahman, from the para-Brahman to the Brahman, the unmanifested to the manifested. And this is all temporary. So if we can see it, feel it, touch it, taste it, smell it, it's not real. To us, it's real because our identity has all our lives been built up on the fact that we are this body. We are these thoughts and these beliefs. Your entire persona is based on the stories you tell yourself and the stories that your parents told you about you and the stories the news media tells you and your teachers and your friends tell you. But mostly it's about the stories you tell yourself, and you repeat these stories over and over and over again until you believe them, and you create these neural highways, right? This is what we do. So we've got to look at who is the real identity here. And the identity, once we determine who that really is, it will change our entire life. So the I am is God in the body. And the I am is just presence. It's pure and simple being before it was tainted, before it was polluted with all kinds of ideas. And once you say, I am a whatever, and you put something on the end of that, you create a string of manifestation. I am rich. Okay, now you're rich. You're in the world of duality. If there's rich, that's only in relation to somebody that's poor. I am sick is only in relation to somebody that's ill. So we split off into fragmented beingness, and our wholeness that we are has become brokenness. It's like me grabbing a vase that's whole and beautiful, dropping it on the floor, it shatters into a billion pieces, and all those pieces are still part of the whole, but they're fragmented on this time-space continuum. Now, the oneness, which never had any time or space, has broken into pieces so that God is in itself, knowing itself through the pieces. If you pick up one piece of this vase and you say, I have the answer, because you don't see the other pieces, you found one piece and you believe that this is the answer, and there's truth in that, there's God in that, of course. But then what happens is you create the rest based on your stories, based on your identity, based on a lot of things that are not true. Failing to recognize that that is only a fragment piece of the whole. It is not the whole, but the whole is contained within every piece. So the finite mind, which we've identified with, the finite brain, which is only the receiver and transponder of the mind. So think this through if you can. Mind is a frequency, like an energy. Okay, it's moving throughout the atmosphere. The brain is like an antenna, picking up little signals. And it's like, okay, I'm getting information because the whole collective has information. I'm downloading. I download this information. I think about it and I break it into more pieces, and then I shoot it out right through my antenna, and other people can feel that energetically. But that is what we do with our brain. It's actually receiving information, and it uses the mind uses the brain to kind of feed us through our five senses, and then we put that back out. So we're experiencing life as God in the body through a physical world, and that is really an illusion. It's called the Brahman, or the great illusion, the Maya. It's Maya. And so interesting thing is this: if we continue to identify with the body, then we believe the stories we tell ourselves. We believe that we are the body and the mind, and we believe that we're actually creating all these things out here, which causes this cycle, which we see of birth and death, pleasure and pain, duality, up and down, left and right, good and bad, us versus them. And we're missing the entire point that this whole thing is oneness. This whole entire thing, everything you look at is God in drag. Deepak Chopra, I think, coined that word, God in drag. And I love it because it is God dressed up to be something that you don't expect. And therefore, it gives us a chance to realize that our lives are just a projection of God in a broken form, but it's all illusion. It's like a dream, okay? So even to take it deeper, I had this when I was meditating, I had this vision of like, okay, we believe that murder is really bad because we're identified with the body. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying murder is good, but what I'm saying is because we identify ourselves, our kids, our life with the body, we believe that if somebody kills us or kills somebody, that is so vile that, you know, but here's the thing. If we are not the body and we are not the mind and we are God, what I saw was like a sweater. Let's say somebody gave me this beautiful sweater. I have a lot of attachment to it because it was given to me by a family member that I love very much. And I always love it and I wear it. And then I go out one night and somebody rips it apart, shreds it right in front of me. My attachment to that is going to cause a lot of energy inside of me, a lot of emotional anger. And I will want to maybe attack the person, beat them up or whatever. I will have all this energy because I feel like you just destroyed something. Now, here's the interesting thing. That person never, ever hurt me at all. I'm unwounded, unscarred. I haven't even been touched. What was touched is the sweater was ripped in shreds, but because my attachment through my story to that sweater, I feel like it's destroyed me. So I attach to it, I feel all the pain and the energy, and that's the illusion of the mind. So I end up being really angry and I could cause more damage. And this is what we do with our bodies. Our body is not who we are. And as long as we believe our body is who we are, we're going to always have pain and suffering. Our entire life is spent chasing pleasure and shunning pain. We run toward pleasure, we run away from pain. Not realizing both of these are the same thing. It's an illusion of the same coin. Pain always follows pleasure, and pleasure always follows pain in the cycle. That's the way it works because it's all one. So what's that mean? That means we still should honor life. Obviously, we should honor life because everything is alive. Not maybe by the way humans define it. A rock, some people think, is not alive, but it is alive. It has divine intelligence that holds it together. Just because it doesn't breathe or think doesn't mean it's not alive. Everything is a living part of God. That is the power. It's the law of one. Everything is God. So in essence, the entire universe is in a cycle in physicality of eating itself and having sex with itself and disposing of itself, doing all these things in a natural progression of our illusion that we're creating, that we believe this, and therefore, because we believe we're the body and we believe we're these thoughts, we're creating a karmic chain reaction. Every action we take causes ripple effect throughout the universe, and we then create more and more karma. And we have to keep coming back and reincarnating to fulfill the karma we're creating. So one of the reasons Ramana didn't speak a lot and he sat in silence is because he said, this is the mute language. Whatever could improve on silence. And it didn't make sense to me when I started this journey because I'm a talker until I sat with myself quietly and watched my mind. And once I became more still in my mind and had more space, I started to realize in silence, there's all knowingness. And it's not like knowingness that you would know from a book or study. It's a knowingness beyond anything we've ever imagined. We already know everything. We already are everything. The only reason we don't think that is because our mind, our thoughts block our knowingness. Beliefs block knowingness. Whatever I've believed has changed. It's not true. I can never say I believe something. And if I do, it's because I'm unconscious in that moment saying it. The truth is we know everything. All we need to do is get some space between the mind and the self. And the self has never been touched. So your body, maybe somebody's been killed. Maybe somebody committed suicide. Maybe somebody's been molested. Here's the problem though. As long as you keep bringing that up in your mind and your thoughts, the molester could be gone, but you continue to molest yourself with your thoughts. The killer could be gone, but you continue to bring up that killer and give yourself pain and turmoil because they killed somebody. But when we get to that place where we understand that I am not the body, then you know nobody was ever killed. Nobody has ever gone anywhere. It's just like the space. Nothing's ever changed. It all is as it is. Instead, we're playing in this playground of the mind where we have this constant creation, most of which is unconscious creation, because anytime we're thinking and putting energy behind it, we're constantly creating a physical universe. And it takes time and space in physicality and duality. And this is the world where you can have what you want, but you also have what you don't want. They come together. There is a place beyond the two, a field, which Rumi said, there is a field and I will meet you there. That field would be outside of time, space, duality, a field of oneness. And that's who we are. In fact, when Einstein was looking at the theory of quantum entanglement, he didn't understand how this could happen where he called it spooky things in far off places. And science has proven the theory of quantum entanglement now, which is they could take cells out of your cheek and they can move those cells a mile away and stimulate you. And at the very same time, your cells are stimulated. They can move them 20 miles away, 80 miles away, 1,000 miles away. And the very time they stimulate you, their cells are stimulated. That breaks down the idea of speed, time, and space. How does that happen? Well, consider it this way. If we believe that we are the cells and we are the body, we're looking at physicality and we're looking at space and distance and speed. How can that happen? Physics doesn't work because it's beyond physics. It's the infinite that the finite mind can never understand. Here's a good way to understand it though. If we don't see ourselves as the physical, but we see ourselves as the space, space is all connected. There's no separation and there's no time issue. Space is space. So we're connected through the space, which we don't see. So we're all connected at once. Anything that happens, happens to all at once. There is no you and me. There is no your life and my life. There's only one life. And if you imagine a Christmas tree, I remember this with Christmas, we'd always have these lights. My dad would get so mad around the Christmas tree because he could never figure out what light was not working. And he was an alcoholic, so it usually was not very fun. But if you think about each light is an individual being, and some lights go on, some lights don't, some lights are different colors, some lights twinkle, some lights stay on. The only thing that's true is the same energy enlightens all those lights at the same time. So you're not the light bulb, the shape, the characteristics of the physicality. You are the energy that animates the light. And it's the same energy that animates my life. The kitty, the dog, the frog, the scorpion, the worst life that you can think, they're all one life, and it's your life, my life. Just like there's one mind. The reason that entrepreneurs, and I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs around the world, the reason that they get an idea download and they think this will be a great idea. I've had so many people come to me in my seminars, go, I have the best idea to build a business, or I have the best idea for an invention. And I say ideas are worthless. Everybody has ideas. Execution is the key. Damon John said that clearly. Ideas are ideas are pointless. Execution is the key. So why is that? Because we all share the same mind. Any idea can download to you, and it will download to other people as well. But if you don't execute on it, it's pointless because somebody else will do it, right? They didn't steal your idea. It's just they share the common mind. Life is common, right? So when we start to identify with ourselves, we got to start to ask ourselves, who am I really? And I had to sit with myself and discover that I am not who I think I am. And I bet when you do this, you're going to discover you are nobody close to who you think you are. And I'm not going to tell you who you are because I don't know, but you'll know. And here's the cool thing. I had to question myself. I'm sitting there going, okay, here's who I thought I was. I'm Vince Dowd. At this point, 53 years old, but whatever age I was. I'm a male, I'm gay. I'm conservative in some ways, liberal in other ways. So I don't affiliate with a political party. I'm independent. I'm 175 pounds. I'm lean. I went through all these different defining characteristics, but that was not me. The more I look at that, that's my body. I'm defining my gender, my sexuality. I'm defining my weight. I'm defining my political affiliations, my status, my wealth, whatever it is. None of those things define me. So we get caught up with all the roles we play. I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a friend, I'm a preacher, I'm a whatever. And we forget who we are. And then we project onto others that we think we know who they should be or who they are. I had a friend of mine the other day call me to preach to me. And it's funny because I used to be a born again Christian and I led him to Jesus in the Air Force. And I've had many people do this to me where they start telling me I'm wrong. I'm going to go to hell. I'm going to be judged because I've walked away from Jesus. And really what I did is I went on a journey to find God, not to be programmed into the ideology or the dogma or the programs or the fear-based religion, but I went on a journey, internal journey, to find truth of who God is. And I did it with my heart, and God showed me who God is, not through books outside of me, but through the book that was written on the heart of our being, the fiber of who we are. Every one of us has that inside ourselves. If we'll just turn inside and go with an open heart to say, please show me who I am and who you are. And through self-inquiry, that's the final stage that Ramana talks about. No matter who meditates, where you meditate on, eventually you're going to end up back meditating on the self, because the only way you'll know who you are is to find out by inquiring who you are. So I told my friend that was preaching to me that I was going to hell. I'm like, well, here's the way I look at it. You're on a river, and the only thing you see is that river. And you think that's the right river and the only river. And so you try to get everybody on your boat on that river because you think you're saving them. Because your perspective is based on your body and your mind. And because your perspective is based there, it's a single point in time in a physical world. You're only looking at one thing. You're not perspective where you're backing out. Now, if you backed away far out into space, you would see that that river leads to the ocean. But you would also see there's 1,000 other rivers, maybe 1 million other rivers and streams and ponds, and they're all leading to the same source. And they're all coming from the same source. So it doesn't matter what religion you have. Eventually, it's going to lead you to the same river that I'm going to, that I am part of. And that is the power, is understanding when we get perspective, our identity as a pixel on the screen will make us feel very separate from the other pixels, separate from the computer. But when we back away and get perspective way out of that area, we'll see it's all one. There's no pixels. There's just one picture. There's just one computer. There's just one whatever, right? So what we got to do is understand that we are not who we think we are. And as long as we think we know who we are, the ego is in full command. So when somebody tells me I'm wrong because their religion, and listen, I've done it. I used to tell people they're wrong all the time, they're going to hell. A fear-based religion is not the answer. And they can tell me all they want, I'm going to be judged, the Bema seat, God's coming down with armies out of heaven. And listen, I know we have crazy times today. Revelation, I studied that stuff. This stuff is happening. There is truth in the Bible. There's truth in every sacred text. But because we all know, and there's no time, time is not linear, time is all at once, all these things have already happened. And at the same time, nothing's happened because it's all illusion. Will there be judgment? Yes, there will be judgment to the body, to the mind, because we've taken identity with it. And when we take identity in a time space, it creates physics. So when you hit something, we have reaction and objects in motion and all the things that physics talks about. And it has to finish the karmic cycle. Every action creates an equal and opposite reaction. That's karma. So when we die and we believe we're this body, this mind, we die and we go into this death process believing, creating more karma, and then we have to rebirth to fulfill the karma. So the reincarnation cycle is just about us going through this belief system and continuing to come back to this dream world, whether you go into higher dimensions or not. It's just a complex idea. And I can never explain what I understand because the finite mind can never understand it. But I will tell you, you will know yourself. If you sit with yourself, it will be revealed to you. It has to. There's no other way. When you're beyond mind, the infinite is who you are, not the finite. But you're trying to look at the world through a finite mind with finite eyes in a finite body that's going to only last 70, 80 years, and a bunch of belief stories that are like little pixels and trying to say this is truth. There is no truth in any of the things we talk about. If we can talk about it, it's not true. If we can hear it, it's not true. If we can touch it or taste it or smell it, it's not true. Because everything that is true lasts forever, and everything that's not true is temporary. So if you start to look at it that way, you realize everything that you pretty much know is temporary. But what's not temporary is you, the I am. And it's not even the I am, because when you go deeper to the I am, that will disappear into the absolute. And that's who you are. Your true nature is the absolute. You are not the stream. You are not the river. You are not the raindrop that's separated from source and sees yourself different. You are the ocean contained in the raindrop. You are the space that holds all of these experiences together. And in every state of consciousness, there's three. Waking state, which I'm in now, you're in it if you're watching this, hopefully you're not unconscious. You're in dreaming sleep, which is still using the mind. We're creating duality and stories. We're separate from the picture. But the third state of consciousness is dreamless sleep. And when you're sleeping at night, you're still aware, but you're not in your mind. You're not watching pictures in your mind. And therefore you're in bliss, you're in peace. It's called turiya in yoga. And the way it works is we have three stages of consciousness, all contained within the box of, well, let's just call it the container. And that's who we are, the container. We contain it all. No matter what happens in this movie, it's all a movie. And once the lights go back on, you'll see that the screen is still whole, it is fine, but you were caught up in the movie. You saw the fire, you saw somebody get killed, you saw tragedy, and you believed it was there, just like a movie. But once the movie's over, you realize you were the screen that held all of that, and you've never really been touched. It's only the body and the mind which identified so deeply with who you are, with a physical aspect for a temporary period of time that causes all trauma, pain, and suffering. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do comment below. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your experiences. And also, please do hit the bell. That way you'll be notified anytime I put up a new video. Like it, comment, and share it. If you think it'd touch somebody, I encourage you to share it. Thanks so much. I love you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a wonderful day.